I was standing in the middle of my school's parking lot, holding a garbage bag full of my soccer cleats, shin guards, and jerseys, watching my mom drive away like she'd just dropped off a Goodwill donation, except the donation was my entire identity. Let me back up. My name's Jordan, I'm 17, and up until about 4 months ago, I was one of the starting midfielders on my club's soccer team. Not like a casual rec league either. This was a competitive travel team, the kind where you're practicing 4 days a week, tournaments on weekends, and you know every single person on that roster better than you know your own cousins. I'd been playing since I was 6. My dad used to joke that I could dribble before I could spell my own name, and honestly, he wasn't that far off. Soccer was the thing that made everything else in my life make sense. Bad day at school? Practice. Fight with a friend? Practice. That restless feeling where you don't know what's wrong but something is? Lace up and run until it goes quiet. My teammates were my people. My coach, Coach Reyes, had known me since middle school. She was the first adult outside my family who ever told me I was good at something and meant it in a way I actually believed. My parents came to my games when I was younger, both of them, lawn chairs and everything. My mom used to bring orange slices for the whole team, which is such a cliche, but I swear it's true. It felt like they were proud of me. It felt like we were all on the same page. But somewhere around sophomore year, the vibe started to shift. See, my parents are both first-generation immigrants. My dad came from Guatemala when he was 19, my mom from Mexico when she was 12. They worked unbelievably hard to build the life we have, and I respect that more than I can even put into words. But with that came this very specific pressure around school, around college, around making sure their sacrifices meant something. And I get it, I really do. The problem is that somewhere along the way, soccer stopped being something they were proud of and started being something they tolerated. My dad would say things like, "That's great, Mija, but what are your grades looking like?" Which, fine, normal parent stuff. But then it became, how is kicking a ball going to pay for a house? And my mom started making these little comments at dinner, like mentioning how her coworker's daughter was doing Model United Nations and got into UCLA, or how some kid from church was in a pre-med program at 17. It was never a direct attack. It was more like a slow drip. A constant, quiet repositioning of what success was supposed to look like. The thing is, my grades were fine. Not perfect, but solid, mostly A's, a couple B's. I was handling it, but for my parents, handling it wasn't the goal. Excellence was. And excellence, in their eyes, had a very specific shape, and that shape was not a soccer ball. The night it all actually blew up was a Tuesday in October. I'd just come home from practice, still in my dirty kit, shin guards half off, and my parents were sitting at the kitchen table with a laptop open. That's never a good sign. My mom looked at me and said, "Sit down, Jordan. We need to talk about your future." I swear the word future in a parent's mouth hits different than it does anywhere else, so I sat. And my dad turned the laptop around and showed me a web page for this academic decathlon program at a prep center across town. It met on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, which, if you're doing the math, overlaps with literally every single one of my soccer practices and most of my game days. I just stared at the screen for a second. Then I said, "I'm not doing this." And my mom said, "Yes, you are." Not angry, not yelling, just completely calm, like the decision had already been made and this conversation was just a formality. I tried to explain that I had a real shot at being scouted this year, that Coach Reyes had been talking to college recruiters, that soccer could literally help me get into school. My dad shook his head and said, "Those scholarships go to 5 people in the whole country. Be realistic." That one landed, because it wasn't totally wrong, and he knew it and I knew it, but it also wasn't totally right. I told them I could do both, that I'd figure out the schedule, that I'd make it work. My mom pulled up my last report card on her phone and pointed at the 2 B's like they were criminal charges. "This is what making it work looks like," she said. "You're spreading yourself too thin on something that doesn't have a future." I felt my throat get tight, not because I was going to cry, but because I could feel the walls closing in and there was no door. They told me I had until the end of the week to tell Coach Reyes I was done. My mom had already enrolled me in the decathlon program, already paid the deposit. She'd done it before we even had this conversation. I didn't tell Coach Reyes that week. I couldn't. Instead, I just kept going to practice like nothing had happened, and I told my parents I'd started the conversation with my coach, which was a lie, and I knew it was a lie, and it felt awful. But every time I imagined actually walking into that gym and saying the words out loud, my chest would lock up. So I stalled. 2 weeks went by. I was sneaking to practices, telling my mom I was at the library, and then changing into my kit in the school bathroom. It was exhausting and honestly kind of pathetic, but I didn't know what else to do. Meanwhile, the decathlon program had started, and I was going to those sessions too, sitting in a fluorescent lit room with kids I didn't know, studying topics I didn't care about, smiling at my parents when I got home, and telling them it was fine. I was running on about 4 hours of sleep and pure adrenaline. Then my mom found out. She didn't find out because I confessed or because she caught me in the act. She found out because she ran into Coach Ray's at the grocery store. Coach apparently said something like, "Jordan's been playing great lately. You must be so proud." And my mom just stood there in the produce aisle and realized her daughter had been lying to her face for 2 weeks straight. The car ride home that night was the quietest 15 minutes of my life. She didn't yell. She didn't say a single word until we were in the driveway, and then she turned to me and said, "I don't know who taught you to be this dishonest, but it wasn't me." And that one broke something in me because she was right. I had lied, repeatedly, and I couldn't even defend myself because the lie was real and it was ugly and I had chosen it. That night, my dad sat me down alone while my mom went to bed. He didn't lecture me, he just said, "You made this harder than it had to be, and now we can't trust you. So now there is no choice. You're done with soccer, period." I texted Coach Ray's the next morning. I couldn't call. I literally could not make myself hear her voice while I said it. I typed out the most cowardly, vague message about family stuff and needing to step back. She called me twice. I didn't pick up. She sent a text that said, "Whatever's going on, I'm here. You always have a place on this team." I cried in the school bathroom for 20 minutes. Here's the thing nobody tells you about situations like this. 3 weeks into decathlon, my mom left her email open on the family computer. I wasn't snooping. I was literally trying to print a homework assignment. But there was an email thread between her and my aunt, and the subject line had my name in it. I clicked it. I know I shouldn't have. In the email, my mom wrote, and I will never forget this because I read it like 6 times, "I know Jordan is angry, but I can't let her end up like me. I had dreams too, and nobody pushed me. I don't want her to wake up at 45 and realize she's settled." She wasn't trying to control me because she didn't care. She was trying to control me because she cared so much it scared her. She was terrified that I'd end up with regrets like hers. And reading that, I felt this horrible mix of understanding and anger that I still can't fully untangle, because her fear makes sense. But it also wasn't fair to take the thing I loved and call it a waste. So here's where I'm at right now. I haven't played soccer in 4 months. I go to decathlon and I'm actually not terrible at it, but it doesn't fill the same space. It doesn't make the noise in my head go quiet. My relationship with my parents is civil, but there's this wall that wasn't there before. I haven't fully forgiven them, and they haven't fully forgiven me for the lying. Coach Ray still texts me sometimes, and I always respond, but it's different now. I lost my spot on the roster. I lost something I can't get back, and I partly blame my parents and I partly blame myself for not fighting smarter. My mom did what she thought was right. I did what I thought was right. And somehow we both ended up hurting each other. So be honest with me, was I wrong for lying to keep playing? Were my parents wrong for making the choice without me? Or is this one of those things where everyone's a little bit wrong and nobody knows how to fix it?